Have you ever wondered what a world without lies would be like? In Black Mirror, there's a built-in chip that can check people's memory at any time. As long as they're installed, everyone's privacy can be displayed and lies have nowhere to hide. You can check whether your partner cheated and learn your best friend's embarrassing stories they kept. On this planet, I'm afraid that humans are the king at disguise, fraud, and lying of all creatures. Lying and lie detection have gone hand in hand for thousands of years. And some of the old lie detection techniques are still in use today. Let's go through the brief history of lying and the odd lie detector story. Xu, a man from Fujian, was forced to pay bad debts, but he insisted that he didn't owe money. Finally, the debtor said if Xu dared to swear, he'd let it go. Xu immediately swore to heaven. Yet less than a minute later, he was struck by lightning. Swear is one of the oldest lie detection methods of mankind, ordeal. In the ancient times of ignorance and backwardness, humans generally believed in God. As long as they encountered things that couldn't be solved, they would pray to God for help, including lie detection. When there were conflicting statements between two parties, and it was difficult to distinguish the truth from the falsehood, the judge asked both of them to swear to God. One who didn't dare to swear or who received retribution after swearing would be judged to have told a lie. For example, the Anglo-Saxon method of swallowing bread. The clergy would put a piece of dry bread in the offender's mouth and acquit him if he successfully swallowed it, indicating that God hadn't sent an angel to choke his throat. These low-cost lie detection methods are now credible. So the ancients invented various lie detection methods that challenged physical limits of the human body. Because they believed that honest people wouldn't be hurt, God only punished those who lie. These means include fire, water, poison, hot oil, fierce animals, etc. It's frightening to hear their names. However, even these painful physical trials failed on detecting lies. For example, the fire trial required people to hold a piece of red-hot iron in their hands. If they weren't injured, they would be innocent. Some cunning nobles could get away with it by applying protective glue to their hands, or by using cold iron painted red instead. These cruel and superstitious methods, lacking a basis, were gradually banned by civilized nations. However, the means of lie detection through extreme physical pain was preserved, and became the origin of inquisition by torture that prevailed for centuries. In the feudal era, many tortures were invented in both China and the West. While torture served as a deterrent to suspects, there were bold suspects who could hold out while some weak innocents were forced to confess. This is the biggest drawback of torture. In the 19th century, when bourgeois revolutions in Europe succeeded one after another, people legally abolished torture to extract confessions. But mankind's attempts to detect lies didn't stop. With the popularization of scientific knowledge, mankind had rapid development in biology, electricity, and other fields, and the instrument to identify lies was born. In 1978, Italian physiologist Angelo Mosso discovered that people's breathing and heartbeats change when they're stimulated. On this basis, he established a set of tests according to physiological changes to determine fear and calm. Mosso's approach caught the attention of his teacher, Lombroso, who personally developed a hydraulic pulse recorder to serve as a lie detector for interrogating suspects. Although the hydrodynamic pulse recorder invented by Lombroso was rudimentary, it's done on modern polygraph. With the development of physiology, medicine, and electronics, several other critical physiological indicators to lie detection were gradually discovered: blood pressure, breath, and skin resistance. Thus, for these physiological activities are controlled by human autonomic nerves, which mainly control stress reactions. They are less influenced by people's subjective will and make conditional reflexes under external stimuli. Most polygraphs today consist of three main parts: sensor, host, and microcomputer. During operation, the sensor will transmit the physiological information collected from various parts of the body to the host, which convert this information into digital signals and transmit them to the microcomputer for analysis. So, polygraphs made their mark in the Cold War of the 20th century. In 1950s, when McCarthyism was prevalent in the United States, even factories that produced military battles couldn't escape from questioning by polygraphs. In 1979, a murder case occurred in Ohio. A masked robber shot an owner of a specialty store. Since the owner thought the murderer's figure resembled Floyd Fay, whom he knew, he shouted out his name before he died. The police arrested Floyd, an employee of a local railway, and administered a lie detector test to him. Floyd failed the test and was sentenced to life in prison for murder. 2 years later, however, he was proven innocent and the real killer was brought to justice. After his acquittal, Floyd had a grudge against the prison sentence. He then deliberately figured out a set of countermeasures against the polygraph. Since the polygraph operates by capturing physiological response to determine whether or not one's lying. If the tester shows exaggerated physiological responses to each question, can they fool the polygraph? It's easy to achieve. Just imagine that you had a fight with someone, or accidentally was pierced by a nail in your foot, or even just clench your anus. You can create a strong physical reaction to fool the lie detector. 23 of the 27 subjects followed Floyd's method passed the test successfully. Then in 1990s, the fMRI was developed, an instrument that scans brain waves for lie detection. And similar to a technique of brain MRI, the subject is asked to lie down into a machine that like a magnet with a strong force. They'll be asked to perform a number of different tasks, such as listening to music, answering questions, or clicking on image buttons on the screen to test their responses. When nerves are activated, they consume more oxygen, which prompts the replenishment of oxygenated blood to neurologically active areas and causes the magnetic field of certain areas to distort and manifest into bright colored spots, which is transformed into images, and this is what the experts based on. After 9/11, the United States developed a polygraph called Avatar and tested it in U.S. airports. It analyzes people's facial expressions, body language, and voice to give credibility score, but its accuracy only reached 60 to 70%. Should we literally with lies? From a historical perspective, lies are also a product of human evolution. In the ancient time full of danger, every member of a tribe had to rely on the help of others to survive. If one was good at using lies to motivate others to help him, he'd have a better chance of survival. In the age of civilization, lies were reworked and masked with myth and religion. Famous Joan of Arc at the age of 16 claimed some secret inspiration has come to her. Under a large tree, an angel asked her to lead an army to recover France, which was occupied by the English. The French soldiers, united by Joan of Arc, were so inspired that they fought bravely, turning the tide of battle for a time. Similarly, Hong Xiuquan formed the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom by preaching the worship of God, although he failed in the end. Sometimes people indeed relax their defense for a pretty lie and unite by faith. In modern times, white lies have been applied to medicine. In 1944, the Allies landed in Italy with many deaths and injuries. The painkillers were shot in the field hospitals. One day, a severely wounded soldier was brought to the hospital, but the hospital ran out of morphine. Just then, a nurse came up with a great idea. She injected the soldier with a little diluted saline, and he thought it was painkiller. Surprisingly, during the operation, the soldier felt only mild pain and showed no signs of shock at all. This is a well-known placebo effect. We should treat lies dialectically as they have two sides. A lie detector with 100% accuracy is not always the best option, but the wisdom of humanity and trade-off. During the Three Kingdoms period, Cao Cao and Yuan Shao fought a fierce battle at Guandu. Cao defeated Yuan with a much smaller force. While taking inventory of the spoils, Cao found many letters written by his generals to Yuan for defection. Instead of arresting them, Cao burned the letters and let them go, which won him many people's hearts and minds. Cao's story tells that if we want to achieve something great, we should be tolerant. Pursuing truth alone may leave us isolated. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy it.